welcome to this episode of the Self Improvement Project. I hope you're all well. I hope you've all had a good time recently and have been enjoying some of the other episodes that I've been doing. This week's episode is based around 3 checkpoints for you for your self-development. Obviously, I'm very passionate about it, and my job here is to convince you how important it is for yourself. And hopefully today, by touching on 3 checkpoints, as I like to call them, will help you understand long-term how beneficial they are for you. So I'd like to start off with a quote, an idea, a thought for you. When you develop and look after yourself, you give the world the best version of yourself. This is taken from lots of ideas from other thinkers, other philosophers as such, around when we put ourselves first, then it has a positive impact on the world around us. Sometimes from our altruistic state, we sometimes feel that it's important to please everybody else and help everybody else before we look after number one. But that's near on impossible to do when we don't look after ourselves. We stretch ourselves too thin. And thinking about it over a long period of time, you could be the most helpful person in the world, but you're not going to be very helpful if you're worn down as such. So I just want you to think about that for a second. A starting point for self-development is to view it as a means. I've talked about this before in the sense of it not being an end. So we've almost not got an end goal with our self-development. Self-development is ongoing. It is a system as such. And treating it as a means and having that mindset can really help us when we maybe need to analyze what it is we need to do. Instead of a knee-jerk reaction or a quick fix, we're thinking of maybe just tweaking something to help with our self-development and ultimately help ourselves. So to sprinkle a few key ingredients onto self-development before I talk about these 3 checkpoints that we've got are discipline and their consistency. Without these 2, we cannot achieve the self-development that we want. We won't be fulfilled by it. We will never experience or realize how good we can be without those 2 things. And as simple as they may sound, like I talked about, they're the key ingredient to helping you. You might be thinking motivation is key as well. And yes, of course it is. But motivation comes and goes. It is not dependable as opposed to our discipline and our consistency. And therefore, we can't use it for self-development. We can't rely on it as such to benefit and make the most of our self-development. There'll be short bursts where it does, but we cannot rely and depend on it. That's not to say that when we do have it, to make the most of it though. So act upon motivation when you feel it, whether that's the start of the year or when you start a new goal. Make the most of it, but remember that it's always going to come back to your discipline and to your consistency. Also, I'd like to check in a sense around self-development not being professional development. Self-development is about you. It is about your traits, your skills, and building your characteristics. Yes, professional development does that. And yes, this may feed into professional development in a positive way. But I wouldn't count self-development as professional development. So, let's get on to our starting point for these checkpoints with self-development. And I call them checkpoints because they're continual. It's not a starting point for self-development. These are check-ins because they go on forever. So as I talk about these three, I'd quite like you to think, right, this is where I'm at with the three of them, and there'll be one that I need to fix or I need to tweak a little bit in order to get back on the horse. So allowing you to check in these areas throughout your life will only benefit you. So I've talked about a few of these before, and I'd love for it if you want to go and listen to some and take some from there and add on to this to help you build your self-development machine as such. So the first one is our health. Health, as basic as it may sound, it underpins everything. It is the foundation for everything that we can do from a progression point of view. Our health comes down to three things mainly. It comes down to the quality of our sleep. It comes down to the exercise that we do, and it comes down to our diet. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm an expert in all of these things. Yes, I'll read little things about them, but these are the three underpinning things that are going to benefit your health. So, like I mentioned before, if health is something that you need to look at, right, I exercise a fair amount, I eat okay, but my sleep's terrible. That's as simple as it is for you in order to get control of your self-development and how you evolve. So those are our three things that we need to look at with our health. And again, this is to provoke your thought, to analyze and be self-aware of your own personal situation. The next one, the second one here, I believe is underrated. And I've called it mental stimulation. Now, the three things that I'm talking about here with mental stimulation that I'd like you to look a wee bit more at is our writing, our reading, and our meditation. So these are three things with mental stimulation that we can do to help us become more motivated, to allow us to become clearer around what we want or who we want to become. So writing can come down to simply pen and paper, journaling, having a wee notepad or a planner as such to help us maybe create a wee bit of routine in our day as a starting point. Or maybe it's to write down things that you're grateful for. Or it's just to get that clarity of mind. Reading is fantastic for opening our minds to new concepts, new perspectives on the world. And meditation, that mental clarity, I like to talk about meditation as the mental version of exercise and how it just makes us feel fantastic by dumping all of our thoughts out during this time. So that's one that I believe is a wee bit underrated and something that we don't think is as important as it actually is, from the value and the impact that it can have on our lives. And the last one today is social connection. Yes, how does social connection help our self-development? Loneliness can have a massively detrimental impact on our health. We need family. We need friends. We need friends that are family. We need relationships as well. This allows us to feel loved, but also allows us to share love. It's part of our human instinct. And also something I'd like to touch on from this social side of things, social connection, is that social intelligence. Emotional intelligence is something I first heard about when I was 20, 21. How I'd never heard of it before that blows my mind when I go back and think about it. But emotional and social intelligence is extremely important for you to feel confident within yourself, for you to have self assurance, for you to have self respect, and also to build on that self acceptance of yourself in this world. Where do you fit in? Have you exposed yourself enough to, or have you exposed yourself to enough social situations in order for you to grow? So, those are my 3 checkpoints as such. So, it's always about checking in where we're at with these: our health, our mental stimulation, and our social connection. So I hope that has provoked some thought for you. I hope that has inspired you to think, oh, that's actually what I need to do. That's what I need to look at and analyse at the moment. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you found it useful, please share with me what you found useful, why you found it useful, how it could benefit others. The most fulfilling things in life come from helping other people. So thanks again for listening as always, and I hope you all have a great week. Cheers.